Hi there. I thought I'd do a video actually about batch files because it seems to be a bit of a dying trend, really. Most kids seem to spend all the time playing games and video games and such like. So I thought, well, if they're going to be on the computer, maybe we should make people more aware and rediscover what batch files can do. But in this little tutorial, I'm simply going to show you how you can use a batch file to download another batch file. And it's actually my auto clean batch file, but you can actually, let's just start simple. So I've created a simple text file. It's got about 6 lines in it, so I'm going to show you how to download the text file, and then if you want to download the batch file, the auto clean batch file, you can always do that. But anyway, so let's get started with something. Now, I've created an image so I can highlight the areas that you need to copy down into a text file. Now, you don't have to write all of it down, because the stuff that's in the background that's sort of in pink or whatever, that is simply instructions and a little bit of explanations about what each section of the batch file does. Now, you're probably going to come across some little problems when you try to type CD. Now, CD means change directory, or current directory, and it sets the current directory to the root path of where the batch file is located, and it's percent tilde and then DP then 0, the numeric number 0, not naught, or as in the alphabet. It's not the alphabetical equivalent. It's actually a numerical value of 0. So you need to get that right, because I know it's easy sometimes to get confused about what we're doing. Now, the first thing you need to do is create a text file. Just a moment. Now, on Windows Vista, I believe on Windows 7 and 8, I think you have to actually go to Control Panel. Let's go Control Panel. You have to go to Control Panel, and you actually have to go to where it says Folder Options. And if I can find it. Right, there we go. You need to open Folder Options, because remember to turn it back the other way as well when we're finished. Now, what you need to do is go to where it says View, where it says View Files, and you need to uncheck the box for Hide File Extensions for Known File Types. The reason for doing that is because we're going to create a batch file. Now, by default, whenever you choose to create a new file in Windows, it's usually a standard type of file format, such as a Word document, a text file, or something else, and batch isn't actually included there. So we have to create a text file, and then we name the extension to bat. So anyway, go to Control Panel, double-click Folder Options, and then uncheck the box for Hide File Extensions for Known File Types. Okay, I've already done that on mine. So once you've done that, let's get out of this. Now go into a folder somewhere, anywhere where you want to put it. You could put it on a different partition if you want. Create a folder. Call it My Batch or something, with a hyphen, My Batch. And in this folder, let's go into this folder. Now, once we're in the folder My Batch, you want to right-click and create a new text document. Now we're going to call this this new text document, we're going to rename the extension to BAT. We're going to call it download download.bat, because I'm going to show you how to, and it'll give you a little pop-up, and it'll say if you change the name extension, the file may be unusable. Are you sure? Well, obviously, because we're creating something fresh, yes, I am. So click yes. And now we have a raw, blank bat file. Now, go into the right-click on the bat file, click Edit, and you get a blank window that comes up. Now, we've got actually I've missed a D off. Let's just close that because right, I've renamed it download.bat. Right, we'll right click edit. Now we've got our blank download.bat file. Now the next section I'm going to show you what to put in the download.bat file, and it's simply an exercise in learning how to use batch files to do menial tasks. Normally you have to type commands in on a command prompt, and it can be very monotonous, especially if you want to download things off an FTP server quite often. For example, you might want to update a document, a PDF file that's online, that's hosted on an FTP server somewhere. Or you might want to download other things that might be updated every week, and it might have the same file name. In which case, or even if it doesn't, if it has a date included in the name, you can actually make it possible to change to only download a file with a specific file name and date in the file name. But we'll come to that later. But for now, we're just going to do a simple download bat, and we're going to download a text file, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, right, here's what we need to put in our blank bat file. All the areas that are highlighted. Let's just try this. All the areas that are highlighted in white, such as these here, or these here, and this part here, and the bit down here as well. We need to you need to type all of that exactly the way it's shown, and you can put line spaces in between each section as you wish. Right. Now the reason for having all the extra information in there is simply as a guide to you, so that you can understand what each section is about. I mean, colour is self-explanatory really, but the 2F simply means that we're going to have a green background. Actually, the 2 stands for green background, the first numerical, the first code, and the last one is the text colour, which is F, and that's going to be, actually I think it's white actually. So we need to type all of this, and I'm going to pause. You need to pause the video and then copy it down into your blank bat file, and then when you copied it all down, you can resume the video and we'll carry on with the next part, and I'll try and explain it in a little bit more detail. But basically, when we get down to this point down here, near the bottom, there's some strange looking arrows. Now the reason for this is we're going to create our own logon text, and a logon text is basically a file, a text file. Or it can be just a file without an extension, it doesn't matter, it could be a DAT file even. But we're going to use a text file called ftp login.txt. And what you need to do is you need to do the right arrow, which is on the bottom of the keyboard near your shift key. That creates a new blank text file with 1 line of text on it, and the first line of text will be what we echo, and an echo is when it prints something to the screen. I've actually done a part 1 of this of a tutorial, but this is part 2 actually. So we do an echo, which basically echoes this particular part, open autoya.moo.com, and that is my FTP, well, it's not just FTP, but that's my host name, where you can actually retrieve files or whatever you want. And I've created a special user account, and the user account has the username of AutoClean, and the password is just public. And what we're going to do then is going to add some extra commands, which is basically to set up the FTP client so that it can send the right commands to retrieve the file. So what you need to do, and all the second, third, fourth, and fifth and plus lines have 2 arrows. Now that means append. I'll put on up here I'll put up here what this does. Right, this all that explains. That's why I put the instructions in there. The first symbol creates a new blank file, and the second one appends and adds extra lines to that text file, Right, okay. So once you've copied all of that, I'm just going to give you a chance to copy all of that down and type it. And if you can't find the right the keys for the tilde, it might be that your keyboard's set up wrong. Because I know that sometimes your keyboards might be set to a different international setting, and you might not be able to find the tilde sign. It might not be where you think it is, in which case you'll need to go into your local settings in Control Panel and choose the right keyboard settings for what your location in order to get the symbols in the right positions on the keyboard. Now, normally the tilde sign is next to your number 1 on the keyboard, and it's normally on the left side, and you normally have to hold shift down to get the tilde. Anyway, on the UK keyboards, I'm not sure about American ones, but I think they're probably in a different location. Okay, well, that's the next section now. This is number 2, and this is a continuation of the logon script that we're still creating. You need to put the rest of this. You have to put ft login text multiple times, but if you want to save time, you can copy. You can simply. I'll bring up the actual text file and show you what I mean. You can actually simply copy that section with a space, right click and copy, and then you can paste that multiple times to save you having to type it. To do that, you simply right click again and choose paste. Now I've just pasted over the top of that one, but you see what I mean. So you can paste the stuff that you don't want to type over and over again, and then you just have to type the extra bits on the end. And as I say, these are logon instructions, how to retrieve a file, and this creates a new logon file which the FTP client, which is hosted on every single computer, will actually be able to read. Right, so when you've copied all of that down into your new download.bat file, you can read all the instructions down here. Read all the information that it might not work for you. You might type something wrong, or my server might not be up, or might have departed this mortal coil, as they say, for whatever reason. But it's still fun. I mean, I first started learning about batch files when I was at school many years ago, before we had Windows 95, and before this GUI, graphical user interface, computing took over. You can be typing all that down while I'm talking. Before all of this GUI-based computing, everybody that was into computers before sort of 94, 93 would use simple command line type programming. For example, like a black background like this, and you can type the commands in manually. Now, what we're doing simply is creating a script that does that and automates things, so you don't have to type them over and over again. So it seems to be a bit of a dying art. I mean, as I say, it's a shame that more kids don't take up batch programs and things, because they could help the mums and dads keep the computers clean. They could automate menial tasks that they don't like doing. I've got hundreds of batch files on my computer that automate tasks for me and keep my server running. And I'll just give you an example. There you go. In the background is an example of all the different batch files I use to keep my servers running well, keep everything running clean and optimized. I've even got batch files that shut the server down when it's got a problem. Automatically doing repairs. For example, I've got a batch file here called error check. And this batch file checks the computer for certain situations and statuses. It even speaks to me and then it gives me audible announcements when there's a problem. It creates flags. These flags are like little memories to help the batch file remember that it's done certain things previously. These little flags, it looks for them to see if they exist. If they do exist, it takes action based on those flags. And if it's resolved a problem, and it originally created a flag to say that there was a problem, and if it resolves the problem, it will delete the flag. A flag is simply a file without an extension. And as I said, this is just one of my batch files, and I wouldn't be able to do a lot of this without the help of people on computing.net. There's a lot of good people out there who will help you to create your own batch files, and that's just one example. And at the end of my batch file, I have a cleanup routine. It deletes all the flags and everything else. But let us get back to this. I hope you've finished copying this all down. And once you have, at the very bottom where it's the login text, we actually create a flag. This is where I was explaining about flags. The very bottom of the commands for creating the new login text, we create another flag, which basically is a simple right arrow, and it creates this flag called new login to echo make. That tells the batch file that this text file has got the new login instructions created. Now later on, if it looks for login information and it finds that it hasn't got the new login information, it'll attempt to look for the older version, the older login information. But that's something you don't need to worry about here. It just kind of got caught up with this example which I'm doing. Right, now we go to the next one. At the very bottom, you need to finish off. This is the main command actually. Now, Win directory simply means that we're going to be running the FTP client, which is on every Windows machine, and it's located in a Windows directory, so we have to tell it where the batch file has to have the path to where this FTP actually is, otherwise it would not be able to run it. So we tell the batch file, basically it has the path, Win directory, system32, ftp.exe, and then there's some switches which basically tells the batch file, the FTP client, exactly what we want to do. And it tells it that we want to use a login text file. And it also, I've forgotten what the other one is actually, but we could look that up. Okay, now we're going to look up what the switches mean for the FTP client. I'm just going to paste the command line in, ftp.exe. Notice that I've got the win directory %/system32 /ftp.exe. To get the help menu, we type a hyphen and then we type the question mark, and that tells ftp.exe to tell us all the command line switches. We press enter and we get all the command line switches. Notice that there's the ones we're using is -n, which is suppresses auto login upon initial connection, which means it's basically going to use the text file. It suppresses suppresses that particular command. Now let's go and look at what the next one would be. If I can find it. Now S, we also want to know what the S stands for. The S stands for file name. It specifies a text file containing FTP commands. The commands will automatically run after FTP starts. Okay, that's what that means. So we use this particular command. We could put a whole bunch of if exists before this line to make sure that FTP exists and everything, but just to simplify this tutorial, this simple exercise, I've omitted all of those to keep, because there's enough typing as it is. So you need to type all that exactly the way it is. You don't have to type the rest below, but it's a good idea to do it just for the exercise. Type echo, and then I hope, congratulations, are in order, did it work? Because once this section runs, it will actually load the FTP login text, and it will attempt to retrieve a text file. Now, if you've done it exactly, there's no reason why it won't work, unless my server's down, as I said earlier. And we're going to use an echo with a full stop, which is a blank line, and then an echo with a space, then a %cd and a %, which echoes the full path of where the batch file is being run from. So it should tell you exactly where you're running it from. It might be from your desktop, for example. And then we do echo full stop, which gives another blank line. It just makes it easy to read when it runs. And then we do echo, and now we are going to try and open the downloaded file if it exists. So if it exists, current directory test.txt, which is what we want to open, Notepad will open cd test.txt. And then we have another blank line, echo full stop, and then we have a pause, because if we don't have a pause, the whole thing's going to whiz off the screen before you have a chance to read it. And also you'll be able to scroll back and see the full content in the window of what the FTP download client actually produced as a result of our download, and it'll also give you a full directory listing of all the other files that are in the directory which you could retrieve as well. But in order to retrieve those files, what you would have to do when you create your script is the mget, for example. The mget basically tells us what we want to download. In this particular example, what we're going to do is we're going to get the test.txt, and we're also going to get the autoclean.bat file as well. But if for some reason you want to get any additional files from the list, all you have to do is copy that line. And what you would do then is paste it, and then you would change the last part to whatever other file you want to get. For example, in my batch file, in the previous tutorial, I showed you how to make the batch file speak to you when certain situations were true. Now, what we can do is we can replace this line with mget, and there's a folder called apps, and in that folder we have to do a /. In that folder there's a program called saystatic.exe. Now it's very useful because it actually makes it possible to do text-to-speech in your batch file. So let's just try that. If we succeed in getting saystatic and it actually downloads it, it's going to be stored probably in the root directory of this batch file. So what we can do is further down here, we can add a line. We can type say static, and then we can type hello world, and well, let's put a comma there. Congratulations, you did it. Okay, so it will actually speak those words to you. So after it's echoed the actual full path to where the batch file is located, it will actually speak.
FTP server downloads are in progress.
Something like that. So, say static, hello world, congratulations, you did it. So it should actually speak to you. Now, if the say static doesn't exist, now let's see, we don't want to get nasty error messages, do we? What you can do is type if exist. That means it checks to make sure it's there. We can type saystatic.exe and make sure you put a space. Then it'll check if exists saystatic.exe stay static, hello world, congratulations, you did it. So it will actually say that to you. There you go. Right, let's just save this. Now, when you run it, it will download those files. It will download the test.txt file, autoclean.bat, and you don't have to run it if you don't want to do, but I certainly wouldn't be putting my voice print there on YouTube if I was up to no good, would I? There are some naughty people in the world, but I'm just trying to help people learn how to keep their computers clean and also bring some life back into batch file programming, because there's a lot of people out there who don't even know they exist. You know, you mention to someone, they'll say, what are you doing, how have you been doing today? I'll say, I've been busy writing my batch file, and they'll say, what's that? Because they haven't a clue, and it's kind of sad really, because in the world of batch files it's fun, it gives you something to do, and plus it's very educational, and it simplifies a lot of menial tasks that you can normally run in the background. For example, you can get them to, like I say, my auto-clean batch file, it runs all my antivirus programs for me. Instead of me having to sit there running them one by one, it'll run them all automatically on my behalf, and I only get the occasional pop-up window asking me to take some action against it. So there we have it. So once you've typed all that down, just run it and leave comments under my video if you've had any success. Oh yeah, don't forget to save it, otherwise you've lost it, you've done it all for nothing, okay? Don't forget to save it, and then you can make a shortcut and run it, and then you can glee over your success. By the way, you can customize it and do other things, but there's loads of help on the internet, so let me just give you some idea just a minute before I go completely. Included in my batch test.txt, sorry, included, once you download the test text, there's a link in there, and it gives you this particular website address and how to write a bash file, and you can go and learn a lot more about it on there. It's a tutorial step by step. It's all visual instructions. I'm not associated with the website at all. It's the WikiHow, but you can go and learn some basics, and obviously I advise people to go and look at this, because it's wise to learn what commands do, because you don't want to be experimenting in the dark, because you might accidentally do something and delete some files that you don't want to do. So basically the del key is the one to avoid, really. The del key, unless you point it to a specific file name, for example, my old.txt, would delete my old.txt file. But if you use a star or something like that, wildcard, then it usually will ask you for permission anyway. If you use the del command with a star, it will usually pop up a little box. Are you sure you wish to delete this file? Which is a good thing, because it's a bit of a safety aspect that's built in there. Anyway, go to the website, and you'll be able to follow all the instructions and learn more about batch files. Thank you for watching.